Hey, welcome back to the Soul Pod. This is Stacey. This is going to be video number 4 in a 5-part series. If you haven't watched the original 3, go back and check those out. It lays the groundwork for what this is about. The first 2 set this up, gave you a little bit of backstory on it. Video 3, 4, and 5 will dive into how to identify the type of anxiety you're having by looking at the different triggers that are associated with it, so that you can actually start shifting that from being an anxiety to being personal growth work, spiritual growth work, and actually breaking through the thing that's causing that and actually starting to reprogram the way you think, literally rewiring your brain, your neural pathways to start softening that. Takes some work, but this is a really great starting point when you start to first identify what it is that's causing it. So we're going to dive in there. So if you feel anxiety, stress, you feel like something's really off and you can't quite figure it out, we're going to get you there. So hang tight. Here we go. So when we kicked off this series, it was with a quote from Brianna Weiss, who's an author who wrote a tremendous book called 101 Essays. If you haven't checked it out, I'll leave you a link in the show notes to check that out. I always use affiliate links. If you buy the book using that link, the show gets a little bit of a kickback from Amazon. You don't pay anything more for it, but it supports the show. So just as a disclaimer, I just want to make sure you understand that buy the book, you support the show. It's a good thing. And it's a great book. I never recommend a book I don't love. The quote from Brianna Weiss was that discomfort is what happens when you are on the precipice of change. So if you've got discomfort going on, yeah, you're in the right place. Things are about to change. So let's start by talking about emotional triggers, like the things that are happening that you can pin this down and go, okay, this is emotional. It's not spiritual. It's not psychological. There is some overlap with these, as I mentioned in the previous videos, and I'll give you a little diagram to kind of show you what that looks like. There's a little overlap with all these, but if you can figure out what section of that you're in, the emotional side, the spiritual side, the psychological side, it can help you actually start to chip away at that. So let's talk a little about the triggers to help recognize that this is emotional. Um, Things like facing grief, feeling rejected, or feeling being vulnerable. Let me give you an example. So like these are kind of broad. If you have some grief in your life and you've been avoiding it, and avoiding dealing with it, and you kind of stuffing it, and every time you think about that grief, it like re-triggers you, that may be a good sign that this is an emotional anxiety that's building up. Okay. um, if you've ever had a sense of feeling rejected, like by a friend, by a lover, by whatever, um, and the idea of maybe having any kind of interaction with that person, or some kind of interaction that might you know get to you, the thought of it that gnaws at you, makes you anxious, makes you, this is emotional. Okay. uh, Not spiritual, not psychological, probably emotional leaning into psychological. All these are a little overlap with psychological. Another one is just any sense of vulnerability. Like both of these are good examples of vulnerability, but anything that, if you think about it and you're avoidant about it because a sense of vulnerability. Yeah. So these are all kind of good examples. If these things sound right, they sound like you can identify with them, you're having probably emotional anxieties here. So that's what we're going to be working with. Okay. The philosopher Rilke said, perhaps all the dragons in our life are princesses who are only waiting to see us act just once with beauty and courage. I love this quote because this is about what we're talking about. Like this is the call to something greater. Like all the dragons in our lives, these things we avoid, the things that make us anxious, things that make us uncomfortable, when we go towards them, we're really slaying the dragon. I also love that Rilke wrote that, because Rilke is not known for using sort of fairy tale sorts of ways of looking at stuff. Rilke is more hard edged than that usually. So this is a wonderful quote. But those dragons in our life, they're just princesses that are waiting for us to act with beauty and courage. And I like the word princesses here because essentially what happens is, if we do the work, we slay the dragon, we get the princess, right? And the princess in this case is whatever the good thing is on the other side of that. And what you find when you go after your stuff is oftentimes your stuff isn't really there. It's just this thing you put up in your mind. It's a wall that you've erected. In every case that I've ever gone after something that I was fearful about, I pushed it over. I'm not saying it was easy. Sometimes it sucked. It was hard. It was uncomfortable. It was miserable, but it was fake. The thing was, it wasn't a real barrier. It was never a real barrier anywhere except in here. And that's where most of our stuff is. So with these anxieties, oftentimes they're just something that you've erected, right? It's the worst part of it isn't that it's there, it's what you've made it to be in your mind. You see what I'm saying? So how do you get to it? Well, when you think about these things, maybe you're thinking about them now, maybe your heart's racing, you're uncomfortable, maybe you're fidgeting, you tightness in your chest, physical sorts of reactions to it. It's a good sign that you're in the right spot here. So now that you know that this is an emotional anxiety you're dealing with, let's talk about some tools, okay? Tool number one, pause, breathe deeply, and name the emotion, okay? Am I scared? Am I sad? And what is the emotion? What's the emotion that's attached to this thing, this tightness, this anxiety, this hand-wringing thing that you're about? Name it, okay? Step one. Pretty simple, right? Step one, name it. Maybe even write it down because you're getting it out of here and you're getting it out here, okay? That's step two. Journal it. Write it down. Write it down. Write down the thing that is troubling you. Write, I am anxious about, I am sad about, and just finish the sentence. Whatever, okay, you're anxious, you're sad, you're whatever. Write it out. Write what it's about. Get it out of you and onto the paper. Maybe you've got a story that I'm not enough. I'm not this enough. I'm not that enough. Frequently, we all carry these around. At one point or another, everybody feels they're not good enough. They're not this enough. They're not that enough. So getting it out of you and getting it in front of you helps you confront it. It is the dragon, right? You got to get through that to get to the princess or the prince for you ladies. I know this seems really simple, maybe even overly simplistic, but if you haven't started doing the work yet, simply identifying it. The thing this does, it allows you to actually see it in front of you instead of running around inside your head, right? You get it out of you, you get it in front of you. That is step one. Now, the reason this is important is this. Once you've identified it, all your bullshit reasons have to go away now. You see, it's real easy for us to hide from ourselves by simply not identifying. You just go, oh, I'm so anxious. Oh, I'm so sad. Oh, I'm so this. I'm so that, right? But once you identify it, write it out long form. Now you have it. That's your target. That's your dragon. Okay? That's the dragon you have to go after. You can figure out how you go after that by looking for some simple way. Like I said, there's a wall that I've constructed. I'm going to see if I can knock it over, just leaning hard into that discomfort, or working with your therapist or coach. If you struggle with this, make an appointment with me. Use the link below. You can set up a free 30-minute discovery call, and if we're a fit, I'll work with you and help you do that. If you've got another coach or you've got a therapist, you can do deeper work with them. But what you've got now is you've identified what the issue is, and you know that it's an emotional trigger. You know that it's emotional anxiety. Once you go after that dragon, it's gone. It's gone. You can knock it over. Okay? So there it is. That's the emotional trigger. On the next video, we're going to look at the psychological stuff. We're going to figure out if this is a psychological anxiety you're dealing with, and that'll be the last in the series. Okay? If you haven't subscribed to the show yet, click the button, subscribe to the show, and that way you'll always get updates when the next video drops, whether it's the last one in this series or whatever excellent stuff I'm dropping next week. Thanks for being here. I appreciate that you're here. I hope you found some value in this. When you identify what the trigger is, when you write it out on the paper, if you write something down and maybe you already knew, but you just weren't admitting it to yourself, let us know in the show notes. Share it with everybody. This is really helpful as a community here. When people share what's going on in their life, tell the story of like, wow, I didn't know this, I did know this, I've been hiding from this, whatever it is, drop it in the show notes. It's really useful for other people to read. And oftentimes it's exactly what they need to read to help them get to the next level. So you're helping other people by helping yourself. So thanks for doing that. If you haven't figured out whether it's spiritual or emotional, hang on. The next video will be followed up in just a couple days on the psychological front. Here we go. Let's party.